Buckle in, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Michael and Benjamin's podcast. Hello, I'm the Tiny Room. I'm not the Tiny Room. Welcome to the Tiny Room, where I am Michael, the Michael of Michael and Benjamin's podcast, and I am joined by the man who was called just moments ago a real low-rent version of Mad Men. It's Benjamin.
Yeah, that's me. I am the Donald Draper of the whole affair.
Is Don Draper's name? Is that short for Donald Draper?
I think it probably is Donald Draper, isn't it?
Wasn't Ben, spoilers for Mad Men, but didn't it end up that he wasn't him?
No, it's not him at all. He assumed an identity at some point and was like, grew up in a cat house, Michael, which is an old-timey word for a brothel.
Oh, not a house full of cats.
No, not a house full of cats, which you would probably quite enjoy.
That's where I grew up in.
Yeah, in a house full of cats.
Many cats.
Really?
Yeah, many cats.
I didn't know this. We're picking apart the layers.
Yeah.
And was it when your parents were murdered in a horrific accident that you donned a cowl and became Catman?
I'm the cat man.
That was excellent.
I'm
not even gonna pick that apart.
Do the theme music.
Theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have any theme music, but I hope someone will mix them up for us. I don't wanna name any names. Rachel, I hope it's Rachel.
Very good. Ben, look, we've two things to talk about before we start today. One, it's going to be real low energy.
Yeah, we're burning out.
We're real low energy here. Ben's pretty tired. He's got a bit of the hay fever. It's Easter Sunday.
Yep.
And Ben, also, the other thing we should probably admit is we've done very little research this week.
Almost non-existent.
Almost nothing. So this might be very short or very, very long and mostly wrong.
I like to think of the latter being the most likely outcome of
long
this.
And wrong.
Long and wrong. Oh.
Very good.
Oh.
Ben.
Yeah.
Do you remember, but a couple of weeks ago, we went to see Hellboy?
We did.
And Ben, you and I...
I and
film,
you
film
and me
us,
together.
We didn't really enjoy it.
No, it wasn't great. It wasn't great, Michael.
Our good friend Cron did enjoy it.
Did he?
He did, yeah.
Okay. Are we in the wrong then?
Are we in the Cron?
Well, no, Crom is in the right. So
Crom.
Is it Cron? Cron. Sorry, Cron.
Crom is the god. Crom is the god from Conan.
Conan the Barbarian.
He enjoyed it though, Ben. And some people have enjoyed it.
So did many Hellboy fans. I took a look at the Hellboy Reddit there recently, and a lot of people that are enjoying the super mention-y fan service that goes on in that movie. It's,
as I said at the time, Ben, it's very reminiscent of the early superhero movies when you didn't think you would get a sequel, so you crammed everything about the superhero into one film.
Yeah, I still didn't love it, Michael.
Yeah, people are saying though that outside the context of the movie, David Harbour has done a better Hellboy than Ron Perlman. Yes,
I have heard that also. I'm not sure that's wrong. Yeah. He's less moody than Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
Ron Perlman really played up the teenage angst element of Hellboy, and I don't think David Harbour does that. I think he's far more get the job done
because
kind of guy.
It could be Hellboy 3, really. Like it could nearly be. Like, other than a couple of things like, you're the beast of the apocalypse. What?
Oh my.
Am I?
That was actually an oddly on point David Harbour impression. That was kind of in the same thing of what? Like the whole...
Thanks, Ben.
That was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
I'm his understudy for Stranger Things Season 4.
That makes sense. I could see you as a Jim Harper.
Yeah,
what I found fascinating was... As always, Mila Jovovich just...
Ben, settle this debate. Is it Jovovich or Jovovich?
Jovovich is probably a soccer player on some kind of Premier League team that I don't know about.
What I'm saying. It might be Jovovich.
You go with Jovovich.
Or
and I'll go with Jovovich.
Okay.
Anyway, Jovovich, noted soccer player, took to Instagram and wrote a big, long, rambly response to the negative criticism.
Did she?
Yes, where she listed all her movies and, in a rather unusual form of brag defense, said that they'd all become cult classics.
Yeah, she has a point.
Over time. She's not wrong, but I find it interesting that she thinks that she's the key to her movies becoming cult classics.
She's the reason I watch them.
Fair. Very fair. I still don't think that the new Hellboy movie is destined for cult status.
No, I don't think so.
It's too kitsch, too messy.
It's not made a lot of money.
No, it didn't even manage to topple Shazam.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It came third in the US box office on its release week.
Didn't do great.
So that's probably just going to fade away into obscurity.
Sure, look. Well, that's what I was hoping with Avatar, but apparently that's getting a bloody sequel.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
No cultural imprint whatsoever. Jimmy
C is working on 3 or 4 of them. There's going to be an air one and a water one and a bloody, space one.
I have a sneaking suspicion that Jimmy C is a real bad egg.
I don't think he is. He just loves submarines.
He seems like a dickbag to me.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Jimmy C is a bit of a dick.
But he made such good films as Titanic.
And Terminator 2.
Terminator 2.
Did he make Terminator 1?
Yeah.
Is that Jimmy C?
Yeah, that was Jimmy C as well. He's a good
That's
film.
coming back as well, with 2 fan favourites back in the roles. Bloody Arnold Schwarzenegger just won't let it go. He's coming back. And so is the Linda Hamilton, who plays
yes, Ben,
Sarah
you're way behind the times. And Gabriel Luna's in it. We've talked about this on this very podcast.
We probably have, Michael, but as you said, I'm under the weather.
He played Ghost Rider, remember, on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, I don't like...
Yeah, I know. That's what you said last time we had this conversation.
Is this the Groundhog Day episode?
Benjamin. Speaking of things which aren't very popular and they're fading away into obscurity.
Don't say my name.
No, I wasn't going to. You ruined my bit. Did you see the first episode of the new season of Game of Thrones?
No, but I did watch the Aussie Man reviews of it.
That's all you really need.
That's all I need.
It's all right.
I'm rarely invested in Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones never clicked with me, and it caused some personal offence for some people that we work with in the place where we work this week. Yeah, 2 people had very strong reactions to me saying, I don't really watch.
Tell me who without saying their names. Use some sort of sign language.
They would be newer.
Okay.
But I was having a conversation with them, and took great umbrage to the fact that
The funny thing is, I watched the first episode of season 8 there recently.
Is that the last season?
The last season, the current season.
This is, okay.
Yeah. And there's bloody dragons in it, and monsters,
great,
and, mind reading, and I was thinking, if this had jumped straight into season 8, no one would have watched it.
No, because it's mental.
Yeah,
it's bloody fucking mental.
And they've done an incredible job of a slow build.
Yeah,
the thing that I've always wanted in a kind of fantasy or science fiction universe, of starting out in the real world essentially, and just gradually going mental.
It's just a hobo's nightmare.
Yeah. What's happening now?
Oh, winter! Winter's coming. Because if you were homeless, that would be quite a challenge.
Well, in the world of winter is coming.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Winter can last any amount of time.
Yeah. That's not good. I did do some interesting behind the scenes goss. Did find some interesting behind the scenes.
No spoilers now.
It turns out.
Who's this from, a source?
No, this is legitimately a thing. You probably know all about this, Michael, because
you're from a source, Ben.
It's from.
Imply that we have a source, Ben.
Okay, it's I went and spoke to people on the set.
We actually do have a source. I forgot. We genuinely do.
Anyway, it turns out that Brom and Cersei, or more accurately, the actors that play them.
Ben, everyone knows this.
Sorry,
Go on anyway.
I found it very interesting. Turns out they used to be getting the leg over on one another.
Yeah.
They used to be all night long, and they don't get on anymore.
Ben, you are probably
at all.
too young to remember Robson and Jerome and their famous song "Up on the Roof."
Nope, don't know it.
That is what he was most famous for before this.
No, Jerome Flynn was famous for music.
Yes, he was in a TV show called London's Burning.
That's mad.
About firemen. Yeah. And 2 of the firemen were particularly sexy. And they released a cover version of the hit song "Up on the Roof." And it reached number 1, and many a woman swooned.
Oh, excellent. Good for Jerome.
And that was what he was most famous for before Game of Thrones.
And now he's bromming it up. Speaking of Game of Thrones, one of those actors is going to play Batman in the Titans series.
Ian Glenn.
Jorah.
Yeah.
Jorah the Explorer.
Hey.
That was excellent. We're yet unconfirmed as to whether he will still be pining for Daenerys.
First images were released just this morning, I believe.
Oh, I didn't see those.
Of him as Bruce Wayne, not as Batman.
He's much older Batman.
He's very much a kind of Batman Begins Batman.
Yeah, he's a grizzled veteran of the Gotham crime scene. Well, Robin is so much older. Makes a lot of sense if you think about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, should look. What? On to the next thing there.
What's the next thing? Ben, we've been reading some comic books as is our want.
I'm into
Comic books.
oiled up Greek men. So I read the comic books that you recommended this week because there was a tantalizing, interestingly, that comes from Greek myth, Tantalus.
Tantalus.
A tantalizing topless.
No, that's Damocles. Sorry, that was Damocles.
Project
I've done the wrong
Damocles
thing. I've done the wrong thing.
There was a tantalizing teaser put up on our Instagram this week of a very provocative Hercules.
I've left my Hercules downstairs.
Oh
Actually.
no,
Brought
that's
him up.
terrible news. And in response to that, I went and picked up, because I enjoy your comic review, Michael.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
Some people have
That's
said,
literally the only reason I do it.
some people have said on the podcast, those some people being me,
Yeah.
have said that you're the reason I got back into weekly comics.
Well, you're welcome.
And it's very true.
You're welcome, the comics industry.
You're welcome, the comics industry.
You're welcome, brick and mortar shops.
So anyway, in response to that, I picked up Avengers No Road Home.
The whole run.
The whole run. Well, I did it digitally.
Oh, you son of a bitch. So you've ruined my point there. But anyway, Ben, what did you think of it? Because I read it weekly. You've read it in one go.
I read it in one go. But oddly enough, I think this is one of the places where I should have read it weekly.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that when read in one go, it is all over the place.
It is. It is. There is no time for the events to click in. You don't read any of the coinciding runs.
There weren't any.
So, no, but with regards to, if you hadn't read the new Hulk series by Al Ewing, very confusing.
Because Hulk's about the nighttime now.
Hulk's all about the nighttime. Nighttime's his time, baby.
Mm-hmm. It's the right time.
Which does sound like an aggressive 90s dance track.
The nighttime is the right time for making love.
Yeah, but the nighttime is his time.
Although you can counter that with a bit of afternoon delight.
Oh, sky rockets in flight. Woo! Afternoon delight. Pew! Afternoon delight. I'm not done. Yeah, very all over the shop if you read it in one.
Gonna find my baby, gonna hold her tight, gonna grab some afternoon delight.
We should warn our listeners. We did warn you. We gave you a caveat that this was going to be an odd one.
What were you saying?
Bloody good. Great mixed bag of heroes. Quite enjoyed it. Bloody Cliff Barton. Scared shitless.
Clint Barton.
Cliff Barton. Clint Barton scared shitless of the Hulk, as he should be.
Well, you see, if you remember back a few years ago, Ben, he was the one who killed Bruce Banner.
Yeah, he was the one that made it all go away for a while.
For a very short time, but then the Hulk came back.
Wasn't a fan. He
died, Ben, and was resurrected.
Oh, was he now?
Yeah, see what I've done there?
What an interesting topic that would be to do on a podcast.
No, look, we'll do it later. So
okay.
Don't shoot loud.
Sorry. Okay, I'll hold it in.
Ben, did you like the final issue?
Very, as I said to you, Michael, in the kitchen of this very establishment.
My house is not an establishment.
It is. It's where the Tiny Room Incorporated is.
Tiny Room Limited.
Tiny Room Limited, actually.
It's actually Shummer Bjorg Limited.
Shummer Bjorg Limited. I did enjoy the final issue. Very Grant Morrison-esque. Very meta.
Very, very meta, Ben.
Very meta.
But, look, we'll go into spoilers because it's a weekly comic and people.
It's been. Yeah. Look, we're grand.
In the last issue, Nyx.
Yeah, the goddess of the night.
The goddess of the night. The Greek goddess of the night.
Very importantly.
We've dealt with the Norse and the Roman goddesses of the night, but now the Greek one is
the Greek one.
She enters the house of the one above all.
Is that whose house it is?
Yeah.
I wasn't quite 100% sure of that. It reminded me very much of the House of Whispers from DC Comics.
Yes.
Very similar concept.
It was the house of the one above all, Ben. And because that house is the house of creation, it has limitless powers.
Pretty good.
And Vision just about manages to squeeze in behind her. Just about. And she is using the power of the house because you see the house can create any sort of ideas. It's kind of a house of ideas.
Oh, if you...
That's what Marvel calls itself.
Is that what it's called?
That's why we're slapping each other.
I don't know if anyone can hear that on the microphone, so we try that up to a microphone.
Ow.
That's what it sounds like when podcasts
You've got some dry hands, man.
Yeah, I got ashy hands. I gotta fix that. You've got baby hands.
I do. They're baby soft.
Baby soft. Baby smooth.
What are we talking about?
House of Ideas.
So he enters the House of Ideas. That's what Marvel calls itself.
Marvel calls itself. I see.
He
does shoehorn several Marvel things into
exactly.
it. They are Marvels.
And Ben, I thought the whole thing was the best tribute to Stan Lee that there's been.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a trumping their own horn about how great Marvel is, but I
also
totally wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I didn't expect that ending.
Nearly
at
brought
all.
a tear to my eye.
Aww.
Just summoning forth all the heroes
And that's
from
what he
different
does.
eras.
It's a great. Reminded me very much of the Sentry comics. You know, when Emma Frost used to go into Bob's mind and be all the panels and stuff.
Yeah,
like that. Very good.
very good.
Very good.
Different art styles for the heroes from different times.
Nyx was a very interesting villain.
I didn't like her that much.
She was a bit one-dimensional, but I liked the evil children angle.
Mm.
I quite enjoyed that. I enjoyed. What I didn't enjoy. I hate knock-on events from other events where something happens and you crack the source wall in DC Comics and it has a ripple effect and it frees all the old monsters out of things.
And then Hal Jordan is resurrected.
Oh, bloody Hal Jordan and his resurrections.
Very good.
That sounds a bit dirty when you say it slowly, doesn't it?
No.
Resurrection.
Resurrection.
Yeah.
Go on, what were you saying?
But yeah, overall very enjoyable.
No, what was the knock-on effect?
Oh, sorry. But there's something that happens in one of the other comics that people are doing. I think it's when Hulk bashes around hell or something like that, and it loosens all the things, so the pit is loosened and she can escape with all her monstrous children.
Oh, is that how that started?
I think it's that or another. What was the other big event? So,
War of the Realms?
I think it was the Phoenix Force.
It wasn't.
Tory
No.
stuff?
Look, it's not as bad as you're making out to be. The event that triggered her being able to escape were the events of Avengers No Surrender.
That was it.
But that was last year's 12-issue
big
weekly.
event. Okay.
No spin-offs, no tie-ins.
Oh.
So it's just, if you
Just
bought it as graphic novels, I think it will be 4 graphic novels.
Okay.
No Surrender 1 and 2, and then No Road Home 1 and 2. And you wouldn't necessarily need to read any of the others to follow.
Well, that would be good.
Like, there would be issues, like you'd be going, what? The Hulk comes out at night now? And
Yeah.
the Spectrum is made of energy, or isn't made of
Radioactive
energy?
something or other. Or...
What is she now? And she loses that very, very abruptly at the end.
Yeah.
Very strange. Ben, what did you think of... Again, we're going straight into spoilers here. What did you think of the ending wherein the Greek gods were killed on Mount Olympus and they reappeared in space on a kind of Mount Olympus reimagined like Asgard sort
Almost
of thing?
like a resurrection of some kind.
A kind of resurrection, yeah.
What
did you
very
think about
Asgard,
that?
yeah, very
Asgard,
fourth world, very Asgard,
very the Eternals, very Jack Kirby.
Maybe possibly a reference to the shift in tone that the Asgardians actually went through in Marvel Comics, where they stopped being myth, and more alien race that's part of the 9 realms.
Do you think that this whole thing is setting up Marvel's upcoming The Eternals?
Do you reckon?
I have a feeling.
Do you reckon we're going to push for an Eternal thing?
I think...
That what Buff reimagined Hercules is at the end? With Nova?
Yeah, with a Nova.
And it was just one of the Novas.
Yeah.
One of the Novas.
It was a little weird twist ending. But the actual ending with the House of Ideas and the
very good.
Mighty Marvels.
Very, very little bit sentimental, but all the right kinds of sentimental.
But also, Ben, I don't know if you noticed this. It was like there was the aspect of a tribute to everything that's happened in Marvel ever. So there's the Stan Lee kind of aspect of that as well. But also, did you notice that the heroes he summoned forth, there were very particular choices.
They were Avengers, Old Guard,
all the Avengers, basically,
the old school X-Men.
But he summoned forth also, Ben, the Runaways, who have a TV series currently. He summoned forth Cloak and Dagger, who have a TV series. He summoned forth Deadpool and the X-Men.
Oh God!
Who have just reabsorbed into Marvel.
Yeah, they've come back. They're back in the fold.
He summoned forth the Fantastic Four.
Who are back in the fold.
You know what I mean? Was it a little bit of a like, we're all back together now, everything's great?
Everything's perfect again. Everything's perfect again.
Was that what it was?
I certainly think that... I don't know if that was the intention, but they would be some of the greatest hits. Possibly a directive from upstairs Marvel-wise being like,
stick in the Runaways.
Stick that stuff
Stick in the Runaways.
The Runaways certainly didn't deserve the same place as... the rest of those characters. They're not as established.
Gert.
Yeah.
Old Lace. Carolina, whatever her name is.
Gert was a terribly written character when she appeared. Moody teenage girl.
Cloak and or Dagger.
Cloak and or Dagger was fine.
The TV show's pretty good.
Yeah, I know, you're a fan. Yeah. You're a huge fan. Have you been keeping up?
Yeah, it's very good. It's very enjoyable.
Good.
the lady who plays Bridget O'Reilly, Mayhem. They've done a little twist on Mayhem that was unexpected.
Oh. Look at you.
Look, I'll spoil the twist. They spoiled the twist themselves anyway. They've done the classic, instead of Mayhem instead of her turning evil, her evil side and her good side have split into two people.
Oh,
which so rarely happens in live action. It's more of a comics.
Yeah, because it's easier to do.
Because it's easier to do. Yeah. But yeah, her evil side and her good side have split.
Boo.
It's pretty good though.
Okay.
It's funny.
Good show?
Yeah.
10 out of 10 Mick would recommend?
No, not 10 out of 10. Don't be ridiculous. It's the leads are very likable, Ben.
Yeah,
I know I've said that
you've
before.
Been suckered for likable leads.
They're so likable, and it's so much better written than most of the other drivel, like Runaways and remember Marvel's The Inhumans.
Oh wow,
not good.
Let's never resurrect that, Michael.
No, not very good. Ben, have you been following any of the press for Marvel's The Infinity War Part 2 Endgame?
The only bit of press that I've seen lately is Kevin Feige saying that Spider-Man not Homecoming, what's the other one?
Far From Home.
Far From Home, thank you.
Spider-Man 3 Homing Webs. Spider-Man 4
Home and Away.
Home and Away, yeah, very good. Spider-Man 5 Old People's Home. Spider-Man 6
Home is where the heart is.
Oh yeah. Spider-Man 7
Home on the Range.
Home on the Range, very good. Spider-Man 8 that's
Homing Pigeon.
Oh yeah, his famous nemesis.
His famous nemesis,
the homing pigeon.
Pigeonor.
I don't know what the obsession with the word home is.
Kevin Feige's a big fan of houses.
Yeah.
But I read that will be the end of Phase 3 in the Marvel Universe, not the beginning of Phase 4.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Read that this morning.
Oh, that's interesting.
He has confirmed that it will be the end of Phase 3, not the beginning of Phase 4, as many people imagined.
That's interesting.
It's
interesting in the sense that it's not that interesting.
No, because phases don't really matter to people. They're going to go see a Marvel movie anyway. I did see an interesting thing where another corporate Twitter account tried to be human. Like, oh, hey guys, which character are you hoping survives Avengers No Endgame? And then
Avengers No
Endgame. And somebody answered me, Thanos. And I was like, actually, I would love to see Thanos survive. Easily one of the best villains they've had.
Ben, have you been tracking the Thanos theory?
What is the Thanos theory?
The Thanos theory is that Ant-Man is going to enter Thanos' anus.
Up through the butt?
Up through his butt and then grow to giant size.
Yeah.
I think that would kill Ant-Man and Thanos would be fine.
I think Thanos would be fine.
Thanos' anal sphincter is probably stronger than...
Just crush him?
Yeah.
He probably has excellent Kegel control. Just give it a tightening and then job done.
I've tried to do a tightening there and I've done a little fart.
Or you could just expel him at high speed with a fart cloud.
Expel him at high speed. Oh, that's gross. Ben, I've been watching some of the press. It is awful. The press for Endgame is awful.
What do you mean?
The movie stars haven't seen it.
Okay.
So they're not allowed to say anything. They're tired. They're exhausted.
Yeah.
They're not getting on.
Oh.
Chris Hemsworth and Brie Larson appear to not like each other. Don Cheadle and Brie Larson seem to hate each other.
I think a lot of people hate Brie Larson.
Well,
I think she's distinctly hateable.
Well, I don't want to weigh in on her because I've long had this theory, Ben, that the people who appear the most unlikable in interviews and on TV are probably just the most normal.
Oh, they don't know how to play the game.
Because they don't play the game very well.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Look how well Tom Cruise comes across, and he's probably an absolute
psychopath.
Fucking psycho. Yeah. Exactly. So, the internet has taken to calling. You see, because of our position here, Ben.
Two white men commenting about things.
But because of this podcast, I watch a lot of interviews with comic book writers. And that means I get a lot of stuff in my news feed tailored to my interests.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And it brings up a lot of people who hate Brie Larson. The internet is calling her soft cheese, which, despite being mean, is actually quite funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The internet's very creative when it comes to meanness.
There's a big meanness towards Brie Larson about doing her own stunts at the moment.
Why?
Because there was an interview where Chris Hemsworth appears to have a very tetchy relationship with Brie Larson. But
why?
Chris Hemsworth isn't his usual lovable self in these interviews. He seems fed up. But anyway... He says he doesn't do his own stunts. She says, oh, you don't do your own stunts? I do all my own stunts. And then he's like, oh, calm down, Tom Cruise. And then she objects to being compared to Tom Cruise. And
Why? Hang on.
look,
People in glass houses.
Ben,
What's
neither of them, Ben, come out of it smelling of roses.
Yeah, I never understand people who throw around insults like that and then
Look,
don't
there's-
expect to get something thrown back.
Take a look at Don Cheadle. Doesn't like being touched.
Does he not?
Apparently not. Yeah, he goes a bit weird. It like glitches him out.
Not his thing. Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, the press has been very.
Oh, because they seem
Awful.
really anxious to press that relationship in the trailer to have this kind
It's
of
interesting.
bro thing. Did you see the huge LGBTQ response to that?
No,
So
they probably didn't like it.
no, they did
Oh,
because apparently many people see Captain Marvel as a lesbian
Yes.
or want to see her as a lesbian.
Well, it's not. There's no evidence either way.
It's exactly, but they've taken to calling Thor the god of lesbians
All right.
and thunder. Because he likes Brie Larson automatically, so there was a whole
And he
fan
liked
kickoff.
He liked Valkyrie.
Yep, they didn't
And she's
ship
kind of a
them.
lesbian.
Yeah, that actually that was it.
Don't touch me.
One of the,
You just
one
touched
of
me.
the-
You know I'm like Don Cheadle. I don't like being touched.
somebody made one of those silly chibi comics where
Right.
all the characters were cute and tiny, and it was Thor introducing Valkyrie to Captain Marvel, and they fell in love.
That's good, isn't it?
Oh, that's right.
Anyway,
I don't know. The
look,
internet
Ben,
needs to keep its hands off other people's intellectual property.
We will see it this Thursday.
We will. Oh, we will. Shit, we will.
This Thursday, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
That's why there's not much happening this week.
Yeah,
It's the
because
vacuum.
nobody can touch or go near
This week is-
this week because
this
it's
week
just they'll just lose.
Yeah, it's edged off. So anyway, Ben, look, Ben, this is our third Easter episode.
Is it?
Our first ever episode was on Easter, and then last year was again Easter. So now it's Easter, making it our third Easter.
You nailed that one. That was
wow,
good.
That was a good
That
explanation.
was good.
This is our third Easter, Ben.
Happy
And-
Easter, Michael.
Thanks, Ben. And I know I said you didn't bring me an Easter egg.
I did. I brought you a chocolate
You
lollipop.
brought my lady friend an Easter egg, and you bought me not an Easter egg.
Look, your lady friend will get more out of an Easter egg than you will.
That's patently untrue.
Patently untrue.
Much larger, have a higher calorific intake.
There are 2 crunchy bars, one for each of you.
I'll have one of those. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
It's got a
You
bit
all right
personal,
now?
hasn't it? Yeah, it's got a bit
okay?
personal. So, Benjamin, people who believe in religion often celebrate at Easter
Yes.
because it is the day that the Christian God or Yahweh,
Nice.
he sent his son down.
Yeah.
No,
pulled a pretty-
he didn't send him down. He sent him down 33 years before.
He sent him down in the
Christmas.
old school American prison term of sending someone down. Yeah.
Yeah, he let him
Send him down. Oh, no, they sent him down.
He let him take the rap.
He let him take the rap, yeah.
He did let him take the rap.
Yeah, he
in a lot
did. He
of
was a real dick.
ways. So
He always
So-
up there slipping and sliding around. He's
So-
a real slippery snake.
on Friday, Ben,
Yeah.
it was Jesus. Jesus died on Friday.
Yeah, it's
And
terrible.
Like
Did you
all
see it?
No, I wasn't there.
No.
Like all good characters, he stayed dead.
Only until...
Yes.
It's interesting that you said the third Easter.
Yes.
Only until the third day, Michael.
And then what happened?
Then he was resurrected.
Allegedly.
Can you add like an echo effect?
I will
there
not, Ben.
as the-
I do not have the time.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I think we should.
Oh, I might.
Resurrected.
Yeah. So he came back, Ben.
Yeah.
Ben,
Yeah.
you are the one of us who at least likes to give the impression that he is more learned and educated.
That being the key phrase, yeah.
Is Jesus...
All this over an Easter egg.
Yeah.
All right.
Was Jesus the first mythological person who was resurrected?
Absolutely not.
Right, go on then.
Absolutely not. I think the key event that's kind of is kind of mimicked and copied there is probably Odin hanging from Yggdrasil down below.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yggdrasil is that not how you?
I always say Idrisil.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll bring you an Easter egg next year.
Yay.
Jesus. But yeah, he had to hang himself from the world tree for 3 days.
Oh.
To gain the wisdom of the world.
Mm.
That was the sacrifice that he paid to the well.
I thought the sacrifice was his eye.
Oh, wait, I'm mixing them up. Hang on. So sorry.
Don't touch me!
For knowledge, he sacrificed the eye. For access to magic,
Uh-huh.
which he didn't have, he had to sacrifice himself for 3 days. That's what it was. And then he could understand magic.
And then he came back.
Then he came back.
So he sacrificed himself to himself and then came back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Ben, it's interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah, go on.
Even though it was I who brought it up.
It was you, yeah.
Because death and resurrection is very much a common theme in popular culture and comic books and movies and TV shows.
Big old comic book theme.
Now, Ben, I'm going to hit you with a philosophical question.
Yeah.
Do you think Okay, hold on. Let me multi-barrel this question at you.
Nice.
Loaded up my shotgun
Nice.
of
You got me.
inquiry.
Okay.
Do you think...
Such an ominous weapon.
I know.
God.
Do you think that death and resurrection in, let's just say, popular culture, Ben, do you think it can be divided into two sections, two ways of looking at, two camps?
Yeah.
One camp... Now, feel free to disagree with me here,
Sure.
but bear in mind I will stab you with this pen. One camp is
crunchy
death,
Easter egg.
death and resurrection as a theme about sacrifice, and then the second camp, laziness.
I think laziness is probably the number one reason that it's done, but there are definitely two camps. First of all, it's a great L. Suss the hero from the rest, the wheat from the chaff, if you will.
Right. The cream from the milk.
The cream from the milk, the maple from the syrup. That's not one. I just wanted to keep it going. It is a fantastic way to prove your hero's mettle, to just show that they are willing to step up. It's a big one as well. When you have the dickhead character, classic example being Tony Stark in the Avengers, he has to make the big play. Has to make the big play, and he goes up to sacrifice himself. It's great to tease a death. To show the metal. It's like, oh, maybe he's not going to make it back. Maybe he's not going to make it back.
Maybe he's
and it's like, no, he's fine.
He got stuck behind that wormhole.
Yeah, no, he's fine. It's great
So
to tease death. Those don't really count. But neither do the other kind, Michael. Because usually when we kill a hero, it's for sales. It's all about the sales, baby.
Or, well, yeah, there's the killing them for sales. And then there's the bringing them back for sales.
Oh, yeah.
Or there's the bringing them back for laziness. Like... Oh, fuck it, let's just...
Cheap sentimentality?
Yeah, like, we really need Cyclops for this story. Let's just bring Cyclops back. It's fine.
Get back in there.
Sometimes they don't even explain it.
No, he's just back.
Sometimes they're just back.
He's just back. Wolverine's another great example.
Well, Wolverine... Okay, let's talk about Wolverine.
Okay, let's
talk about Wolverine.
Right, okay.
So, Ben, you followed the death of Wolverine a bit more than I, so tell us what happened to
him. Basically, as it turns out, Wolverine's healing factor wasn't able to cope as well
with his adamantium.
He's getting adamantium poisoning because adamantium poisoning is a big old thing. And he lost his healing factor due to some superhero event or other. And the adamantium poisoning started to take a serious toll on his body and his health. He still had the healing factor, but at an exceptionally reduced rate, so he couldn't take damage as well. It took a while for him to heal after he popped his claws, so he would avoid doing it.
Yeah, popping and locking.
He couldn't pop and lock. Lost many street competitions. His rep in the hood went down. It was a whole thing, and that hit him harder, I think, than the adamantium poisoning.
He lost a dance off to the character Honey.
Yeah, she whooped
Jessica
him.
Alba.
Yeah, Jessica. Oh god. So basically, that culminated in the event of Logan Step Up to the Streets 3. And that was very good. No, I'm kidding. So eventually he succumbs in a heroic way. All his villains, all his kind of classic villains, your Lady Deathstrikes, your Sabretooths, your Omega Reds, the gang, they get wind of this, blood in the water, so to speak.
Right.
And they come a hunting to take down the man who's pissed them off over all these years.
The Reavers.
He takes them all out anyway. He does a good job, but it's all ended when he's coated in adamantium. Somebody tips an adamantium vat on top of him, and that's the end of Wolverine. He dies in a very heroic pose where he's kind of on his knees and both claws are popped and he's just covered in adamantium. So the X-Men do the only logical thing. They go up to Alberta, Canada, which is a very remote place. They build a little cabin in the woods, which is actually a secretly high-tech cabin where you can go downstairs to a memorial of Logan, and he's just there on a little pedestal in the middle of the mountain. Nice. But anyway, then we started getting teasers for Marvel Legacy.
And first of all, what's Marvel Legacy?
Marvel Legacy was the big comic book tie-in event to the Endgame, or to Infinity War, where we were trying to explain all the stones and why they were important.
All right, yeah.
Okay. Doing all that. And the way that this was teased to us is at the end of certain issues, you would see little cameos of a man taking out real bad eggs.
Yeah.
And mysterious claw marks appearing everywhere. Yeah, mysterious
cigar.
Has a hat on. He's got some big old sideburns, big old bushy
It's
sideburns.
Wolverine.
It's Wolverine.
He's back.
He's only done and gone, come back.
But wasn't Wolverine's resurrection somewhat lessened by the fact that while Wolverine was dead, there were 3 other Wolverines running about the place?
Yeah, we had Wolverine X-23, who took over the mantle.
Wolverine.
Did a great fucking job.
Yeah.
Very, very, very fun run on that. Some interesting new characters, some interesting new angles.
Yeah.
Had bloody old man Logan.
Yeah.
Jeff Lemire, Kevin L. Yeah, he dimension hopped.
Okay, ridiculous.
Dimension hopped because of Battle World. See, this is what I mean. I hate events that have a knock-on to other things. Not great.
And isn't modern end of the universe Phoenix Wolverine running around as well?
He's out there somewhere, but I'm not even going to go near that.
Oh.
Not for today. But yeah, so basically, it just gets messy when we don't follow the regular laws of the universe. You and I have covered it before. Max Landis did a wonderful video on the death of Superman and how that pretty much signified the end of death in comics.
Everyone watch that.
Great. We might link it down below for a change. We'll link that down below. Very good video outlining just how cynical death became as a marketing ploy after that event. Leading up to Marvel Legacy, you needed all the big characters. And you couldn't really have a Legacy event celebrating characters with someone as iconic as Logan out of the mix. So they needed to bring him back in time and do all that. So it is a very cheap thing. I'm reminded of another Marvel moment that did the exact same thing. Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Got rid of an old Johnny Storm.
Very strange. Very interesting. Almost now completely forgotten.
Yeah, and they followed your initial formula of to test the metal. You had to grow up and kind of step up to the plate and all the other American cliches. No, you came... Oh, I did. Yeah, sorry.
That's weird.
That's weird. We're just the same person.
But now almost forgotten that one. People don't care about that anymore.
A nihilist bloody pumped him full of bugs.
And now he's back, though.
Yeah.
He came back very quickly.
No bother. Nobody batted an eyelid.
There's no bother to him at all.
That was Fantastic Four 600, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I think it was again, I think what cheapens it for a lot of people is when they can clearly see that it's not going to stick. For example, when it happened with Johnny Storm, fans were disgusted because they knew in 12 issues, which is usually what a big story arc is, that was going to be Fantastic Four Legacy numbering 600, which is a big milestone for a comic. So they knew someone was coming back.
Isn't it more than the mainstream media's fault? Because I think they give these stories to new, young reporters. And those reporters report on them as if they're actually big deals, because they're probably not au fait with the tropes and
not comic nerds.
Yeah. So that's how you get the New York Times reporting on the death of Johnny Storm and then making it seem like it's a big thing.
And calling it a huge thing. Yeah,
Captain America died.
Yeah, and he came back. He came back
as an old man.
He did the Batman thing.
Go on.
So one of the things I hate more is how they bring them back. I hate how characters are brought back sometimes. Sometimes it's, alternate crisis, and that gets rewritten again. Jason Todd's a great example of that. There was an aftershock, again, leading to this.
Why'd you keep touching
you. Sorry, it's because you said you didn't like it. That was quite funny. So, as I said earlier...
You have to watch that video at Don
No, I'm going to check it out as soon as we go downstairs. When you have a knock-on event from a big kind of comic-spanning event, big legacy thing. For example, Superboy Prime punches the source wall and it calls a knock-on. That's what brought Jason Todd back originally. That's a shite excuse for bringing somebody back. So that was later retconned to Ra's al Ghul bringing him back. Yeah, putting him in a pit and bringing him back, which was a little bit better because it's an established thing that brings people back from the dead and has negative consequences.
Look, Ben.
Yeah.
I don't like when fictional stories, when fictional universes cure death.
Bit silly.
It's the end of coherent storytelling. It was spoilers for a comic I'm going to spoil now in a minute. You might have heard of it. It's from Miller World. It was my biggest disappointment with the ending of The Magic Order.
Oh, that was shite.
Everybody came back.
Terrible. Everybody knew all along, and everyone was fine.
Yeah, everyone was fine. They all knew.
That's a classic Miller move, though.
Never cure death in comics.
Yeah.
Just don't cure death.
If you can't. Cure death, the golden rule.
It's my worry about Doctor Strange and the Time Stone. It's my worry about the movie Marvel's Endgame. They have to cure death.
Yeah, it's going to come back.
And after they've cured death, whatever they do, they're going to have to come up with a damn good reason why they don't just do that every time there's a minor inconvenience.
It's true. We should point out to actual real doctors who might be listening to the podcast, keep having a crack at it. They can
cure death.
Yeah,
yes.
Keep having a crack at it, lads. That's not a recommend from us.
I think
do look after the people in the hospitals.
Well, look, I want them to prevent dying, but not undo death.
Okay, don't be bringing people back.
Don't bring them back.
But don't be letting people die too easy either.
Zombies, Ben.
Yeah, we don't want zombies.
Or vampires.
Less of that.
Yeah, no
Less
Draculas.
of that, lads. Less of that.
What the hell are we talking about?
So yeah, I was talking about how sometimes they cop out altogether, and it's interesting how often Marvel and DC just full on rip each other off when it comes to death and resurrection. For example, when
Yes.
Jason Todd came back.
Yeah, you nearly touched me again.
It was previous to that, Bucky Barnes had come back
Yeah.
as an anti-hero sidekick, or really just a bad egg. So they both ripped each other off. Batman was killed in the DC universe, but prior to that, Captain America had been killed in the Marvel universe, and they didn't die. The lazy fucking writers. They didn't die. They were sent back in time to jump through time. So we got the Batman Odyssey Chronicles. Because
Batman's a caveman.
Batman's a
pirate.
caveman. Batman's a World War II ace.
Batman's a Dracula.
Real gay stuff all around.
Isn't gay is a derogatory term?
Yeah, I absolutely am. That's going to get me in a ton of trouble. Sorry,
not
lads.
great.
I've never seen a gay Batman. They've never done a gay Batman.
Have they not?
DC, get on it. Gay Batman. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Gayverse. You have a dark multiverse. Let's get a gay multiverse going.
Everyone's gay. That would be interesting how they would explain the character's parents.
We
Who are your
actually.
parents? Thomas and Martha Wayne, but Thomas was just a sperm donor. Martha was going
Thomas
out
and
with,
Merv Wayne.
But then, how was he born? Look at that.
You probably would end up doing. Well, let's not get into the
Let's not get into
ins
that
and outs of a.
We've gone down the wrong path
there. So what was I going to say? Yeah, he got sent back time, and so did bloody Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers was sent back through his own personal timeline. He had to bounce around, and that's how he got out of it. He was literally bounced through time, and he sent a message through Vision in the 60s forward into the 2000s or the mid whenever it was. So I didn't enjoy that. I hate when they take the lazy route out, but they do mimic each other quite often. It's a very irritating thing.
Do you want to hear the story of a character who was killed off for different reasons than sales?
Thought you were going to say Darth Plagueis.
No, it was sales, but for a different logic.
Go on.
Ben, most of the characters that we've talked about were killed off either for a plot. Let's be honest, the Superman thing, that was a planned death and resurrection story.
Sales.
But also, Superman is often lined up with Jesus, especially by Zack Snyder. If you remember in Man of Steel, where he flies up into space. And
what's the name of his co-writer?
I don't know.
The guy who's obsessed with Jesus.
I do not know. Pontius Pilate.
It's not Pontius Pilate. Looks a little bit like Pontius Pilate, though, in all the old Charlton Heston movies.
Don't know. This is not.
I can't remember. This is not great podcasting. Anyway, loves a Jesus parable.
Lots of Jesus references in the film Man of Steel.
Yeah.
But Superman died and was resurrected as a. They were going for a theme.
Long hair.
Phoenix, Jean Grey, died and resurrected.
No good.
But you see, she died and resurrected and then died again for the last time, and we all hoped that would stick, and it didn't. But then she came back, but then she died again, then she came back again, then she was a clone, then that clone died, then the real one came back, then she died again, and now she's back.
I think probably Jean Grey is the best example of just how messy it gets.
Well, others are catching up now. Wolverine has died a few times at this stage, and
fucking silly.
It's craziness. But Ben, a whole different universe.
Go on.
The universe of the Transformers. Because in the film The Transformers, 1986, The Transformers, they had to sell toys.
Okay.
Ben, as you know, The Transformers was invented to sell toys. And one of the interesting things in the past when you have a line of toys is when you create when you accidentally create a massively popular character like Optimus Prime.
Yeah. Like we will one day and retire.
Yeah. The problem you force upon yourself is that kids won't keep buying Optimus Primes.
Because once they have one...
Because they only need one.
Yeah.
So, in Transformers 1986, they wanted to refresh the cast. They wanted to get rid of the older toys off the shelves and cycle new toys onto the shelves. The thing about the Transformers 1986, Ben, as you know, animated movies have a long production lead-in time. And that movie was planned and written and made before they knew just how popular Transformers was going to become. So that movie very casually kills off most of the cast of beloved characters.
Oh.
Including Optimus Prime.
For sales.
For the sales. They wanted to replace Optimus Prime with Rodimus Prime, who's a real dweeb.
Hang on.
Yeah, he was voiced by Jude Law.
Called.
Yeah, Rodimus Prime, yeah. His name's Hot Rod, but then when he becomes Prime, he becomes Rodimus Prime.
Oh, wait, can Transformers upgrade? Can they become...
There's the matrix of leadership. Optimus Prime has it in his chest, and you take the Matrix of Leadership out and you hold it, and if you have the
if you're deemed worthy,
if you have the touch, then it goes, you got the touch, you got the power, and then you
transform into a Prime, Rodimus Prime, porn star supreme.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So Hot Rod becomes Rodimus Prime, and no one wants that toy because he's a real dweeb. But they didn't realize just how popular Optimus Prime was going to be by the time they killed him off. So it wasn't a plotted heroic sacrifice, death, and resurrection. The movie does not end with any hint that there's any way for Optimus Prime. He turns grey. And
that's not
he's
good.
Dead.
That's
he's
not
dead.
good in Transformers.
No, that's the worst thing that can happen. He is categorically dead.
Okay.
And then season 3 of the cartoon takes place after the movie. And Rodimus Prime is the leader.
Bloody.
And yeah, I know, he's Rodimus Prime. It's not a great name. There he is there.
Please tell me it's the one with the big sword.
No, that's Grimlock.
I was hoping that was.
Oh, I can't see him. I'll show you later. Can I see him anywhere?
I don't know. You'd think somewhere in this room filled.
He's not my favorite character.
But
there's Hot Rod there. There's a Hot Rod.
This one?
Behind him.
This one?
This is not good podcasting.
This one?
No,
this
stop,
one?
Stop it.
Is this one?
No, it was the third one.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
It's this one.
No, the one behind him.
This one here.
No, the one behind him.
Listeners, very important.
Very
it's
bad.
This one here.
Very bad podcasting. So, Optimus Prime then, by default, kind of had to be resurrected.
That's not good.
So season 4 is focused on the resurrection of Optimus Prime.
How does he come back?
I can't remember. Space magic?
Space magic. Oh, classic. Speaking of space magic.
Yes.
Bloody Phil Coulson. Pointed out by your good lady friend.
Oh, yeah.
Only brought back for cameos and
It's
TV
Phil
shows.
Coulson.
Coulson.
It's Coulson, yeah. You can keep saying it that way, but that's
Agent
wrong.
Coulson came
That's
back.
categorically wrong, but go ahead. But Cool Whip. Ben, you have seen all of the movies. I know this for a fact. There's no excuse for you not to know that man's name is Coulson. Coulson, stop.
But yeah, he's a great example of someone that people really want back, and they just won't put him back in main continuity. They sideline him to a really shitty TV show.
Hey.
Really?
Marvels of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents got better.
No, it didn't.
It did. It got
they
better.
blasted them into space, and they've never referenced the snap.
They haven't been on air since the snap.
They're never going to reference the snap.
No, they will.
Is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finished?
No, 2 more seasons.
Are we going to see Coulson?
Coulson.
In Endgame? You reckon?
No, I don't think so. Coulson, maybe a cameo.
Because you got a quick cameo in terms of.
I would like to see the Abomination.
A-bomb.
No,
not A-bomb.
The Abomination.
Emil Blonsky.
Emil Blonsky. That would make my day.
You want the bad guy back?
I would. It would be great if they said, let's just bring him with us and throw him at Thanos and see if it does anything.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
That'd be good.
Ben, did we see Endgame, Infinity War together? I think we did.
We did. No, we didn't. I was in Florence.
Oh,
I was not around.
As you remember, my highlight of that movie was Red Skull appearing, and I went, "Oh, Red Skull is back!"
Red Skull. I think we're probably going to see a little hint that he maybe got off the island. He's off to his old tricks.
Yeah, I would like Abomination to be back. Anyway, what were we saying? Where were we?
Dead people in comics.
Coulson. Son of a bitch. That's very annoying. Ben.
Yeah.
Coulson, I thought, was a weird resurrection. Because
stupid resurrection.
Yeah.
It's pointless.
He wasn't... There wasn't a theme there.
No.
It wasn't a sacrifice and resurrection or a Jesus parable. He was killed to drive the story forward.
Yeah.
And now he's back in a side project that no one talks about.
And nobody ever talks about it because that would ruin the cohesion that he created, even though they've been a team for years now, and you probably could actually go,
you could definitely go,
you know that guilt you've been carrying around because you didn't want... He's grand.
He's grand. He's back.
He's
grand.
He was
grand. 20 minutes later, he was fine.
Look, lads.
He has a home.
Also, you're telling me that in all that time that no one has found...
He's been on
Coulson
TV.
again.
He's been on TV.
He's been on TV.
He has
just walk in, turn on ABC, there he is. There's old Philly Coulson.
Son of a...
Why does that annoy you so much?
Because you know it's wrong, and you're saying it wrong on purpose, and it's upsetting me.
Philly Season.
Yeah, that was a good resurrection. You know, another good resurrection. This is one which was thematic. It was on purpose. Was Buffy.
I gave up on Buffy after the resurrection stuff.
She nobly sacrificed herself for her sister.
Yeah,
and
classic.
then her friends resurrected her. But the twist of this one was she didn't want to be back. She was kind of depressed in the beginning of the next season because she had been in heaven.
She made it.
Yeah.
We
So
made it, baby.
They dragged her back from heaven.
That's not good.
No, and she
Shouldn't
was
do
like,
that.
You sons of bitches! I was
You-
living. There was all sorts of. There was Spider-Man 5 on TV. I was watching it, and you
Just
dragged
leave
me
it
back.
out, like. Leave
Yeah,
it out.
I thought that was a good little twist.
Interestingly,
Mm-hmm.
Hellboy universe
Mhm.
wrapped up last week.
Yeah.
With the final BPRD issue,
Right.
The Devil You Know,
Better the devil, you know.
and it turns out they
the
resurrected
Devil You
Hellboy.
Know. Oh no!
So Hellboy's run finished for much better reason. Very against it when I read it. Didn't realize it hasn't been as well advertised as Hellboy in Hell. I think
Right.
Hellboy in Hell is a perfect run.
Mhm.
He kind of wanders off and does his own thing. That was the end of the Hellboy standalone series.
Mhm.
And then BPRD has been running much longer. But, rather interestingly, he's resurrected in a kind of similar Jesus fashion style, but to bring about the end of the world. And he... Spoilers? We take a big risk.
Yeah,
and
go on for it.
do big spoilers. Just take a quick pause there if you don't want big
for
spoilers.
the current Hellboy series.
For the last issue of the BPRD...
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been getting really into the BPRD.
Right,
It's
I
very
think we're
good.
covered now.
So, he destroys the world.
Hellboy!
Him and Hecate destroy the world to
Oh,
create
no.
the next one. So the world comes to an end, basically. Big cosmic oddities, very Lovecraftian end to the planet. He brings about the end of days, and then him and Hecate, is it?
Mhm.
Yeah. She takes the form of the big, what's Iron Maiden, the Iron
Mhm.
Maiden thing that she embodies herself as sometimes. He sacrifices himself into the Iron Maiden, and his blood forms the next world. Becomes a creation myth. So it's a very interesting
That's big, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very interesting full circle of the thing. And that's been planned since day one by Mike Mignola, because Seed of Destruction is the name of the first ever
Oh, he's a seed.
thing, and he's a seed. He's a
Son of
seed, so Anunung Rama is
Mhm.
the destroyer and creator of worlds. It's a mistranslation that people have been saying.
Ah, very
Uh,
good.
it's a
It was a
classic
mistranslation all along.
But it was a mistranslation all along. But it was an interesting resurrection. So he comes back, and he doesn't want to come back.
No, he's like, leave me alone.
He's been told he has his little shack by the seaside where he's finally out of all the fray of
Wolverine
it.
in the basement.
Yeah, Wolverine's in the basement, has an adamantium statue, and he's sent back, and he goes, "I please don't make me go back.
That's
Like
interesting.
I'm done." And so it was interesting that you brought up. I wasn't going to bring up Hellboy because we've been very Hellboy heavy lately.
Yeah.
But again, just proving the comic is much better than that goddamn movie.
Listeners' questions, Ben.
Yeah.
We've had a listener's question saying...
Oh, have we?
Yeah, saying, here, look, you're always gone about representation in comic books and movies and whatnot, and saying that Captain Marvel was important, but not as important as Wonder Woman, and Black Panther was very important. But when's there going to be a first ever Asian female-led superhero film?
Yeah, we didn't have much of an answer for that one. I think the issue is a lot of those legacy characters, if you want, the big ones, didn't exist in the 60s when
Well,
Marvel
Ben,
was kicking up. We
does-
don't have a lot of Asian representation in comics.
Marvel and DC were both written for white teenage boys in the 60s.
Yeah, when very possibly Asian wasn't all the rage due to Vietnam Wars and whatnot.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Well, it would be a very politically
Or even
charged
the-
thing to have a heroic Asian at a time when you're trying to drum up propaganda
Or-
against.
Or even the throwback to
An
World
Asian
War
nation.
II and the Japanese.
Yeah,
It
so
wasn't
there's
that
there's
long
a
since
whole
that.
there's a whole issue with that. Pearl Harbor left a huge scar in the American psyche, and that would be an issue. But also, very often, a lot of those Asian characters came to the fore during the blaxploitation,
Kung Fu exploitation years.
Kung Fu exploitation years, and just incredibly racist and hard to adapt these days.
Are there any female Asian characters who could take a lead? Psylocke springs to mind, but she's white again.
Psylocke is white again. We did have Colleen Wing for a while, probably the better part of the Iron Fist series.
Yeah.
Certainly season 2 was. But honestly,
You have Marvel Silk.
it's Silken Spider or Silk.
Silk.
Whichever
She's just called
one.
Silk.
Is it just Silk?
Yeah,
Just
I
Silk.
think you're thinking of Silk and Floss from that awful The Spirit movie.
Yeah, that was terrible.
No
It
good.
was because we had to look her up for the thumbnail. I also there's Amadeus Cho who took over as the whole.
He's not a female then. You
No, he's
son of
not.
a
Are we
bitch.
doing solely female representation?
what we were
Okay,
asked.
Sorry.
So yeah, it
But
is.
there's a scarcity of strong Asian female leads.
And when they are Asian female leads, they do tend to be ninjas.
That's racist. There's Katana in DC, and she's
yeah.
the exact same. She's
Yeah,
a samurai
samurai lady, yeah.
Samurai lady. Cassandra Cain
Is
The
Cassandra Slade
next
Asian?
bad girl. Yes, she's an orphan Asian
Yeah.
that's adopted by David Kane, the assassin.
Mm.
But again, Asian, very slightly racist if you think about it. Mute, doesn't talk a lot,
Is that
knows
racist?
kung fu. The Asian stereotype of the meek,
Inscrutable,
timid woman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, not too many. There's some now. They're starting like I mean the problem
there?
is it'll take years for these characters who are being created now to become legacy characters.
Yeah, you got to put a minimum 20 years under the belt.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I don't think Marvel and DC are going to make it that long in the comics publishing business.
No,
The
it's just
sales are
movies now.
down.
Movies now.
Just movies now.
Electra's.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tough one.
Let's throw it out to listeners and then ask the listeners about do they know any female Asian characters who could lead a movie?
Asian characters.
Female
that
Asian
could
characters
lead
who could lead a movie, and then ask them what's their favorite.
It's fucking awful.
It's not
Don't
pleasant,
touch
isn't
me.
it? And then ask them what's their favorite death and resurrection in comics, or their least favorite. Ask them those.
Which one gonna ask them?
Both of those things.
Both of those things. So lads, you just heard Mick there, and there's no need for me to repeat that. Favorite Asian lead characters, if there are any that you
Lady
know of,
Asian
that lady
that
Asian
that could front a movie.
that could front a movie, that could carry a movie. Let us know down below. And anybody that you were resurrected, let us know what's going on. What's your favorite representation of Jesus on the screen? Who's your favorite Jesus?
Life of Brian.
Life of Brian's great Jesus. Great Jesus. Quite enjoyed Mexican Jesus from American Gods, helping them
good
cross
too,
the rivers. Great Mexican Jesus.
The Jim Caviezel one was hard watching.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly fun. But anyway, as always, ladies and gentlemen, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify.
Just do a Google.
Give us a review, give us a comment, give us a like.
Yeah.
Do all the stuff.
Yeah,
Michael and Benjamin's podcast.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh, bye.
Happy Easter.
Bye.
Buona Pascha.
One.